Welcome to the short introduction of using machine learning in your thesis work. I'm Tobias Olsson at Linnaeus University. So basically, machine learning or AI is used to automate some task that does not require a lot of skill for a human to do, but there's so much data to look at, so it's hard for humans to manage all of these data items. For example, you could imagine analyzing a company's social media stream and decide if social media is positive or negative towards the brand. There's a lot of items in this stream, and doing this manually would simply not work, even if the task in itself is quite simple. Face recognition is also something that a human could do easily, but there is simply too much data to handle. The other type of task is the opposite. You have quite a few data items, but the knowledge to make the assessment is expert. You need to be an expert in this area, so it's very hard to find experts, or the experts are busy doing something else. For example, analysis of medical images and deciding if there's a disease or not would require a lot of experience and expertise from a human to do. There could of course also be combinations. For example, personalized recommendations for music, movies, shopping items, etc. that would require expert knowledge in the corpus of music or movies, and also know the type of movies a user likes. So the end goal of a machine learning or AI thesis is to find out if machine learning or AI is a practical option to replace or assist a human task, and how well it performs. There are basically four types of machine learning or AI algorithms. We can do supervised learning, where we train the algorithm using some prepared data, and the algorithm itself learns to recognize the important parts of the data, the important patterns, and we can then use this knowledge in new data. For example, training a neural network to recognize juggling balls in a movie. You can do unsupervised learning. This is where the algorithm itself tries to find patterns in the data based on some criteria. For example, we can cluster tweets to find some common topics. There are also semi-supervised learning, which is a mix of supervised learning and unsupervised learning. So you have some prepared training data, and you use that in combination with unprepared data. And finally, we have reinforcement learning, where an algorithm performs action in an environment, and the goals of this algorithm is then rewarded based on some criteria or not. For thesis work, supervised learning and unsupervised learning is basically the most common options. That is what you could expect to actually do something, I think. So basically there are four types of thesis work that are common. So you take a known machine learning AI algorithm and you apply it to a new problem or a new type of data. So for example, this example of juggling balls and patterns, a neural network was used, and this is a known AI technique, but it is used in a new context of recognizing juggling balls and the patterns of juggling. You can take a new type of ML or AI algorithm to a known problem or data set. So you can apply a new type of algorithm, but you use a known problem or a known data set to see if this new algorithm performs better than the old one. For example, you can try ensemble learning in deepfake. So you use a couple of older models, but you combine the results from that in an ensemble, and you test if that performs better than the older algorithms separately. And with the new here, it's of course not that you should invent this algorithm yourself. Rather, it is a known algorithm, but it's newer than maybe something old. So you can do more of a replication study where you take an old algorithm with the data that was used to test this algorithm, and you compare that with a newer version of this algorithm and see if performance is improved, for example. You can do applications of machine learning AI in a new way. So, for example, you can take a trained model and put it in a restricted environment. So maybe you would like to have real-time object detection on a Raspberry Pi. How well does that actually perform in reality, so to speak? These are basically the types of thesis work that we see in machine learning and AI. Some popular tools and resources. So if you're interested in machine learning, you should definitely check out Python, which is probably the most used programming language for machine learning and AI work. There are excellent libraries, and you can start by preparing to get to know these libraries too. So scikit-learn, Keras, and TensorFlow and Pandas are important libraries to know in machine learning and AI. There's a site called Kaggle where you can find free and open data sets for machine learning and AI, some challenges and open problems, and a lot of learning materials, because you will probably need to learn a lot of new stuff if you decide to do thesis work in machine learning and AI. Finally, we have some references to nice thesis that we have had during the years here. We have this topic clustering, some machine learning for detecting deep fakes, real-time object detection on a Raspberry Pi, and using a convolutional neural network to detect juggling balls and hands in real-time videos. So if you're into machine learning and AI for your thesis work, please prepare, and I hope to see you in the course.